constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win. Now the 2-1.
Line drive to the base hit. Justice has scored the tying run. Green to the plate. And he is safe. Safe at the plate. The Braves go to the World Series.
Have reserved seats somewhere along one of the baselines that sat when they were children and cheered their heroes.
Gibson swings and a fly ball to deep right field. This is gonna be a home run. Unbelievable!
A 3-run home run for Bucky Dent. The Yankees now lead by a score of 3-2.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mazeroski has hit a 1-0 pitch over the left field fence at Ford Field to win the 1960 World Series.
They'll arrive at your door as innocent as children, longing for the past.
The Pope arrived at Yankee Stadium. As one enthusiastic announcer put it, he is standing on second base.
Reggie Jackson. Long drive right field. It is goodbye. Big World Series. The Blue Jays are World Series champions as Joe Carter hits a 3-run home run.
Rack and roll. There's a long drive. It's going to be, I believe, the Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant.
The 0-1 pitch. A liner off Nagy's glove into center field. The Florida Marlins have won the World Series.
The memories will be so thick that I can brush them with my faces.
The 1-0 delivery to Fisk. He swings, long drive, left field. If it stays fair, it's gone. Home run. The Red Sox win. And the series is...
Lolich fires. Ball is hit high in the air. This should be the series. Freehand waving everybody away in foul territory. Detroit wins.
Here's the pitch to Willie. Here's a liner straight to Richardson. The ball game is over and the World Series is over. Willie McCovey hit it like a bullet. A line drive right.
Baseball to mark the time.
The Oakland A's take
I'll tell you what, we're having an earth.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Candlestick Park for Game 3 of the 1989 World Series.
It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again.
Frank Robinson, the right-hand batter.
Long drive to left field. Way back. Yes, it's goodbye. Home run.
Base hit loaded, 1 out. Pena in a jam. The Twins are gonna win the World Series. The Twins have won it.
Ozzie with 1 out. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run. And the
Willie Mays just brought this crowd to its feet with a catch, which must have been an optical illusion to a lot of people.
This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again.
Broadcasted live.
Hey! Who wants to have some fun?
There are balls coming from all over the place. Left field, center field, right field. See, this is the kind of thing, quite honestly, right now, that makes you want to see the Chicago Cubs team lose.
Now, are you just saying you want to have fun, or do you really want to have fun?
It'll be fun.
Will the next person that sees anybody throw anything onto this field, point them out, or get them out of here? You don't live in Cleveland. You live in Cincinnati.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
That is the farthest thing in the universe from the truth.
Hello, everyone, live. It's the Dan Scott Show. And right there is your host, Dan Scott.
All right, good morning, and welcome to Friday. We have made it through another week. It is another beautiful day here in the upstate of South Carolina, and we, again, are just excited beyond words to have you with us here on the show, which is not a good thing because we've got to use words to get through
exactly. Yeah,
the next hour.
That's always going to be a trouble, Dan.
Yeah, I'm Dan Scott. That's Forrest Stulting. Happy to have you with us on the Free for All Friday edition of the program. Coming up today, we will visit in the middle segment with Jim Reynolds, the play-by-play voice of the Chattanooga Mocs, as we continue to work on bringing you in-depth coverage and previewing Furman and Chattanooga. Also, we'll take a look at some possible upsets.
You never know.
In the world of college football this weekend. Some stuff last night in college football and the NFL, and, of course, the Major League Baseball playoffs continuing as a division series got underway in both leagues last night. So we've got, actually in the American League last night. So we've got quite a bit to get to over the course of the next hour. We always start, though, with what's happening on campus.
We sure do. All right.
Little Furman roundup for you.
Absolutely. Some awards came out yesterday for the month of September for the cross-country team. Allie Buchowski and Aaron Templeton both run SoCon Runners of the Month. So congrats to them. They have continued to be the forefront runners in the SoCon throughout the entire first month, winning, I believe, for Aaron 2 out of the 4 and Buchowski 3 out of the 4. For volleyball, Jamila Johnson wins the Offensive Player of the Month. So congrats to those 3 Paladins for really sticking it to the other SoCon teams in September. The Furman calendar this weekend looks a little bit like this. Tonight you have 3 events going on. At home, the women face the Wofford Terriers at Eugene Stone Soccer Stadium. Also at home at Alley Gym, just across the way, the women's volleyball team will face Western Carolina. And up in East Tennessee, the Furman men's soccer team will battle the East Tennessee. My goodness, what's their mascot? East Tennessee, not Spartans. What are they?
The Buccaneers.
The Buccaneers, that's right. Yeah, the Buccaneers. Arr, matey. Tomorrow on Saturday, will be, at 8:30 a.m. will be the 45th Gene Mullen Invitational right here on Furman's beautiful campus, beyond beyond the golf course. The men's golf team, they kick off a 3-day event in Chapel Hill. They'll participate at the Tar Heel Intercollegiate Invitational. Coming back on campus, the women's volleyball team will compete against UNC Greensboro. They are the Spartans at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Last we checked.
And the Furman men's football team will travel to Chattanooga for a 4 o'clock kickoff. So a lot going on this weekend, so be sure to come out there and support your Paladins all across the board.
Is that opposed to the women's football team?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Just
you never know.
That line of demarcation there.
I mean, don't fall in the lines of Cam Newton now.
No. Yeah. But you said the Furman men's football team.
Hey, you never know. I mean, there could be a club team forming. So
more power to them. I tell you what, the club rugby team they've got out here is pretty heavy stuff.
Something else.
Yeah, without question.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's what's going on around campus, and we always try to keep you updated as to everything happening here at Furman before we move on to some other things, which today will include, as always, our trivia question.
You got that right, Dan. Going to go back into some Furman football here. So Furman is a 27-19 advantage in Chattanooga in their series. What is the Paladins' longest winning streak during the series?
Longest winning streak over Chattanooga in the history of the series.
Yep.
Okay. That's a good question. If you have a guess, you can leave your answers in any of the comment sections of the platforms you may be watching us on, Facebook Live, Periscope, or Twitter, and even YouTube. And then otherwise, you can just hit us up on Twitter at Dan Scott Show. We'd love to hear from you. Tell you what we'll do. We'll go ahead and take a quick break because we've got a lot to do today. We'll come back. We'll get to the first of Forrest things, and then bring in Jim Reynolds in the segment after that to talk some Furman and Chattanooga football. So we'll take a break right now, and that'll give me a chance to remind you again, as I do every day, that this show is brought to you by our friends at the Atlanta Bread Company. I was there talking football with Jeff this morning. He is something of a frustrated South Carolina fan right now. But we were talking about the virtues of this Furman offense and how unpredictable that it is. One thing that is predictable, the food quality is fantastic, and the people there are even better than the food. Stop by and see them there in Cherrydale Plaza, right up the road from campus here, and thank them for their continued sponsorship of the show. As we go out, here's a little more about them, and we'll return to get into Forrest's 3 things after this on the Dan Scott Show. Don't go away. The Atlanta Bread Company wants to make your dining experience as convenient as possible, especially if you're ordering takeout. Go online to atlantabreadcompany.com, place your order there, and pay for it too. Then, when you get to the restaurant at Cherrydale Point, you breeze right by the cash registers and go straight to the pickup counter where your food will be waiting. And speaking of food, try the new Shrimp Po' Boy, a delicious and surprisingly healthy addition to the already great menu. That's the Atlanta Bread Company, Cherrydale Point in Greenville.
Looking for a good lunch spot in the Travelers Rest area? The Cafe at Williams Hardware is your place. Williams Hardware has food for the whole family, from the famous Reuben to the barbecue chicken quesadilla and their daily lunch specials, which includes the award-winning BLT on pimento cheese with pepper jelly, served Tuesday to Thursday. Williams Hardware also serves breakfast on Saturdays from 8 to 11, perfect before Furman home game. And don't forget the gift shop, which offers items for anyone on your list. Go see your friends at the Cafe at Williams Hardware, 13 South Main Street in downtown TR. Full menu and operating hours at the Cafe at WilliamsHardware.com.
Say you've got a busted phone or tablet screen. Time to get a new device? Nope. Time to give it CPR. CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale can repair almost any phone or tablet screen on the market and usually can do it same day. In fact, if you have an iPhone, the fix usually takes less than an hour. CPR Cell Phone Repair also can fix computers and gaming systems, both screens and hard drives. And they sell refurbished devices and new accessories. Stop by and see the new owner, Janet Culver, today, and check them out on Facebook. That's CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale, 864-282-9097. Give it CPR today. It is Friday, and we are back. Good to have you along with us as we're basically just getting things cranked up. I want to tell you quickly about Hall's Chop House. They're located in downtown Greenville. They have the original location, of course, in Charleston, but now this location that's been here for a while in downtown Greenville and has become very quickly a major hit. You know about the steaks, or at least you should. They're Allen Brothers prime steaks. You are going to be hard-pressed to find a better cut of meat anywhere. They can do all kinds of meetings for breakfast, lunch, brunch, or dinner. They have plenty of room, plenty of space. We've been telling you about that. They're open 7 nights a week and Sunday all day for brunch through dinner. Live music every night, also with brunch, and an outdoor patio is available as well. That is Hall's Chop House, downtown, the Greenville Steakhouse. Tell them that you heard about them right here on the show. All right, let's get into your things here, because we've got Jim Reynolds to get to coming up in about 10 minutes or so.
All right, so we'll start with thing one, get a little ALDS baseball. I know if I don't start with the Yankees loss, I'll get some flack from Dan. So on the 10th,
you're learning. On
the 10th anniversary of the Midges game with Jabba Chamberlain, it was a different animal last night. It was the Bees, Bauer and Bruce, that got to the Yankees last night.
Can I do my John Sterling imitation?
Please.
The Yankees lose.
You started up high, so. Yeah. But Bauer had 5 1/3 of no-hit innings. He really shut the Yankees down at 8 strikeouts, 6 2/3 overall in the night. The Indians put pressure on the Yankees early and often. They had the leadoff runner on base 4 out of the 5 first innings. And Sonny Gray, the Yankees starter, he struggled from the very beginning. It looked like he was on his heels from the very first pitch. He could not locate his two-seam fastball on the outer edge to lefties all night long, which is going to be one of his plus pitches there. You got to really locate that if he's going to have success. So in the second inning, Jay Bruce led off with a double. Then the bases were subsequently loaded, and then Perez, the catcher for the Indians, hit a sacrifice fly in that inning. Then 2 innings later, in the bottom of the fourth, Jay Bruce hit a blast, 2-run home run. He pulled it. And I will say this, that his 2 big hits, the double and the home run, they came off really different pitches. His double was a very low and away slider at the outer edge, and then his home run was a fastball up and in. So he's a really good hitter at the plate coverage, essentially, from going one side to the other. And then the Yankees.
He became, by the way, the first player to ever hit a postseason home run for both Ohio teams.
Wow.
Both the Reds and the Indians. So
that's a stat you don't hear too often, I guess, because the Reds don't get to the playoffs very much.
Yeah, well,
so
that's fair, 2010, 12, 13, but that's I get it.
Nothing like 53 for the Yankees, but
I understand.
And the Yankees finally broke through in the 6th inning with Aaron Hicks getting a double, and that ended Bauer's night. But then the daunting Indians bullpen came in and closed the door. We'll say this: we got some pretty good at bats against Andrew Miller, so hopefully that will help the Yankees tonight and in the following games against the Indians. Especially Chase Headley made him work. I think we had 3 full counts against him in his 1 inning of work. So really proud of my Yankees for doing that against him. But overall, it was just a really solid night for the Indians. They really had us on.
You're proud of guys working the count full
against Andrew Miller? Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So got to take what you can get. So especially when we only have 2 hits on the night. So
yeah. Well, I guess again it's a matter of perspective,
exactly,
right?
Yeah. Nothing.
Hey, we look good in our uniforms.
Yeah. Nothing like the other night when we put up 8 runs against the Twins. So
yeah, and the way these things are in a 5-game series, the Indians have, by winning that first game, have really set themselves up.
Yes. Oh, no doubt.
Really set themselves up.
Yeah, I mean, especially with Kluber going in Game 2, I mean, this is almost a must-win for the Yankees.
Yeah.
So
the discussion prior to the game, I know you talked about it a bit yesterday. The Twitterverse was all a Twitter over it, starting Trevor Bauer instead of Corey Kluber in Game 1.
Yeah.
And also playing Jason Kipnis in center field.
And he made a fantastic diving catch. I believe it was on the bottom of the third, top of the third, excuse me.
To me, Terry Francona's track record is enough to say if he feels like that's the way to go. You're always going to get second guessed. I understand that, but I was just surprised at how much second guessing was going on at that move. It's not like the guy won World Series in Boston. Oh wait, he did. Yeah. He won multiple World Series in Boston. Very nearly won one in Cleveland last year. So his track record says he knows his team, he knows his players pretty well, and obviously in this case the buttons he pushed worked.
I'll say this: the reason why I was giving him flack for it was because 72% of the time the winner of Game 1 wins a 5-game series because it's a shorter series, and so getting that Game 1 is so pivotal to taking the series in your favor. And so
and listen, yeah. I'm one who believes that if your ace is ready to go, you pitch him in Game 1.
Sure.
I really believe that, but I also think that when you've got a guy like Francona making that decision, let's say as opposed to a first-year or second-year manager somewhere, well, okay, Francona's got a lot more he can draw from in his managerial career, plus the knowledge of these players because he's been with them since he's been in Cleveland for most of their careers.
No.
So,
yeah, I mean, it's no knock on Francona. He did a great job. Just 9 times out of 10, I would want my ace, especially the Cy Young Award winner, to pitch Game 1.
And that's one of the great things about baseball. Everything that you do in baseball can lead itself to a second guess.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And that's why it's so fun to talk about it.
Right.
Because there's a million avenues you can go down.
Yeah, had they pitched Kluber and he got rocked, and said, well, you should have pitched Trevor Bauer. You should have done something else. So.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, if I don't think he's going to get any flack for starting Kluber Game 1. So, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
All right, other game going on yesterday was the Astros and the Red Sox. And the Astros, boy, they walloped the Red Sox yesterday. It was an 8-2 victory for the Astros. And the man of the hour was Jose Altuve. Hit 3 home runs. He became the 9th player to hit 3 home runs in one postseason game and the 10th all-time. Babe Ruth did it twice. So, and his first 2 home runs were off fastballs over the heart of the plate, both to left center field. And then his last one, I believe, was a fastball as well. He pulled that one a little more towards the line, but still got all of it. I think went almost up to the train tracks in left field. But just an overall great night for the Astros. In the bottom of the first, they got things started pretty quick. Back-to-back home runs by Bregman on a hanging slider and Altuve. Then Boston got one back in the top of the second, but Pedroia ran him out of the inning. And I think this, along with their top of the 4th inning, when Betts got a double and Devers hit a sacrifice fly, they were only able to get 1 run each in those innings, and that was the difference in the game, I think, in my opinion, because they had the chances to put up more crooked numbers in the top of the 4th and the top of the 2nd, and so
but it's amazing how often base running mistakes will come back and just loom over a game, and how that can change the course of a game sometimes. When you do something boneheaded on the base paths and it costs your team runs or an opportunity for a bigger inning, that seems to just linger as the rest of the game goes on. Maybe more than a lot of other things that can happen in the course of a game, because that's something that you have control over, and if you do something stupid on the base paths, you've given up that control, so to speak.
And he was about maybe a half a second away from actually taking that run off the board, because Mitch Moreland had just crossed the plate before Pedroia was tagged out at third. So just, not good base running by Pedroia right there. And then a couple of 2-run singles, or 1 2-run single and 1 2-run double by Marlon Gonzalez in the 4th, and a 2-run single by Brian McCann in the 6th to kind of put the lead firmly in the hands of the Astros. Then Altuve hit his 3rd home run in the bottom of the 7th.
So that makes him Altuve then.
I like that. I like that a lot, actually. Yeah. 4-3. Astros, they laid off Sale's slider really well. They didn't actually swing at one of the sliders in the dirt until the 3rd inning, so I thought that was very impressive on the Astros' part to kind of lay off that. Then, as I mentioned, the Red Sox 2nd and 4th inning only had 1 run each. They needed to get more runs than that in those 2 innings because they had the opportunities to, but just couldn't capitalize. And the shutout inning in the 4th, the Astros added 2 more in the bottom of the 4th, which really put the game out of reach for the Astros, especially when you have Justin Verlander on the mound for the Astros, and then the good bullpen that the Astros have back there. So it was really just a unbelievable night for the Astros all around, essentially. Verlander finished with 6 innings, 6 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. So far from his sharpest outing, but still enough to get the job done. And Sale, on the other hand, 5 innings, 9 hits, 7 earned runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, but the big number, 3 home runs. So that is what is the difference in that game last night.
All right, quickly, because we've got to get to a break. The schedule today, the National League Series get underway with the Cubs and Nationals in Washington, and then late tonight, the Diamondbacks and Dodgers out in Los Angeles. But during the afternoon, the second game of both American League Series, Red Sox and Astros at 2:05, Yankees Indians at 5:08.
Yep. So this is kind of like the first day of the March Madness for me. I'll be watching baseball from about 1 o'clock till about 1:30 in the morning. So this is going to be a heck of a lot of fun for me today, Dan.
Just remember, you've got to meet me in Anderson at 7:30
I know.
Tomorrow.
I will be there. And I might sleep on the ride up.
Yeah, no guarantees this time, right? No guarantees. All right, when we come back, Jim Reynolds, the play-by-play voice of the Chattanooga Mocs, will be with us. We'll talk about their tough start and get his thoughts on this game tomorrow down at Finley Stadium. You are watching and listening to The Dan Scott Show, and we'll return in just a moment.
Stuck in a state of falling behind? Struggling to keep up with your kids, finances, insurance? Then let State Farm agent Steve Borkland in Traveler's Rest help you simplify and get to a better state. Because with Steve handling your auto, home, and life insurance, you'll have more time for everything else. More money too, because adding State Farm policies could mean earning discounts worth up to 40%. That's money Steve can help you put towards a college savings plan. Call State Farm agent Steve Borkland today and get to a better state with State Farm.
Hey Furman fans, it's baseball season. Here at Ingalls, we know that as you root for the home team, sometimes you want more than just peanuts and Cracker Jack. And while we do deliver on your favorite ballpark classics, we're proud to offer a packed lineup of everything you need to make your next meal a home run. Ingalls, a proud sponsor of Furman Baseball and the official grocery store of Furman Athletics. Go Dins!
The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point offers a dining experience that will have you coming back for more time and time again. Everything is freshly made on site, including the different varieties of bread and all the baked goodies. And the menu, Atlanta Bread Company offers a wide variety from hot soups and chili to hot and cold sandwiches and paninis. Even breakfast selections topped off with your choice of piping hot coffees. Come see for yourself. You'll love it. The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point, proud sponsors of the Furman Paladins and the Dan Scott Show. All right, welcome back to the show. We are still trying to make contact with Jim Reynolds, the play-by-play voice of the Chattanooga Mocs. So he has got the bat line number to call us. So as soon as he does, we'll get him on. Let's go ahead and go to college football, which I know is one of your things.
Yes, sir.
I know we're going to look at the possible upsets, but before we do that, let me see if I can pull this up very quickly here. I should have been prepared, but that would be totally out of character for me, wouldn't it? I didn't need you to agree with that. Just sit there quietly and do your thing.
32-25.
Yeah. Last night, there were a handful of games.
39-25, excuse me.
NC State beat Louisville 39-25. That was one of the games we picked yesterday. I know I took Louisville. I thought that would be a big egg that the Wolfpack would lay, but ultimately it was not. And you know what? We'll have to finish talking about that later because our celebrity has called the celebrity guest line. So we are going to go right there now and welcome in the play-by-play voice of the Chattanooga Mocs, the Dean of Southern Conference Broadcasters, Jim Reynolds. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I'm living the dream every day.
Yeah, you know, Dean of Broadcasters, that's another way to say something else. So
that's the way to say that I work cheap and couldn't find another job.
And have done it for a long time.
That's exactly right.
How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. I'm sitting right next to your booth at Finley Stadium right now, so everything looks good in there. I'll just tell you.
You know how crazy I am, and Forrest Stulting is here with me. You said you're sitting right next to our booth, and both of us looked off to our right. So
wait a second.
What's he doing here? The game's in Chattanooga. Hey, it's been a, shall we say, intriguing start to this season for the Chattanooga Mocs, hasn't it?
Intriguing is very kind. Very, very kind.
Well, I'm a kind person.
There's no question. Yeah, they have so many issues on offense. They just simply cannot move the football. Last in the league in rushing. You know, they've had their number one quarterback for exactly one quarter so far this year, and they've had problems on the offensive line, and literally they just have so many problems moving the football against Western Carolina. Western Carolina is a team that gives up a lot of yards and a lot of points. And even against Western Carolina last weekend, Chattanooga could not move the football. They were sacked, whatever it was, 7 times or something like that. So, yeah, they've got some problems. Their defense is still good. But, for example, last week, Western Carolina scored 45 points, two touchdowns where a quarterback was fumbled the football in the end zone. So that's 14. And one they tried a fake punt, and it was fumbled, and Western took over on the 1. So you could really say 21 of the 45 Western scored last week were gifts, per se, although the defense forced them or whatever it is. Chattanooga's just had a rough time moving the ball.
You mentioned only having your starting quarterback for one quarter, Alejandro Benefield, who, if I'm not mistaken, returned to the lineup last week after the suspension and then got hurt. What can you tell us about his status this week?
He got concussed. I don't think there's any question about that.
Mm-hmm.
And they went through the concussion protocol. I don't believe there's any way he'll play tomorrow. I mean, they haven't even hinted during the week that he would be available because I am now, well, I wouldn't say expert on concussion protocol, but I know more than I did before. You kind of have to have a normal 24 hours. And as of Wednesday, I know that he hadn't had a normal 24 hours. His head was still hurting and light sensitive and all that kind of stuff. So I don't think there's any way he will play tomorrow. So I think Benefield is definitely out. That would leave Nick Tiano, who started the season. Nick Tiano's a local guy who played at Baylor School, which is, a mile and a half from UTC or whatever. Tiano originally signed out of Baylor with Mississippi State and transferred back to Chattanooga. But he's a very, very different guy than Benefield is. He's more of a drop-back guy. He doesn't have as much escapability. And unfortunately, with Chattanooga's offensive line, you better have some escapability right now.
Hey, Jim Forrest here. The offensive line is good, a league-high 18 sacks. Can you talk about how losing your two offensive guards from last year has been kind of tough on the Mocs this year?
Oh, there's no question. They lose. Corey Levin was done with eligibility. He's now in the Titans camp and still on the Tennessee Titans roster. They moved a couple other guys around, and a couple other guys left. They graduated, so they didn't want to come back for a fifth year. So you add all those things up. I don't know if they have a whole lot of depth there. They say they're getting better, and I got it. But, you start with the offensive line, and then if you have to have, keep a back in there to protect, or they have they use a fullback. That's a term we haven't heard in a while, but they use a fullback on occasion. But the fullback hasn't carried the ball yet this year, so he's back there for protection. So I think it's all about protecting the quarterback or creating a rare running hole at this point in time.
And we were visiting with Jim Reynolds, the play-by-play voice of the Chattanooga Mocs, as we preview tomorrow's Furman-Chattanooga game at Finley Stadium. When Russ Huesman was there, this was an offense that spread it out and did multiple things. The new coaching staff, from what we've been able to ascertain, has been taken more of a pro-style approach. Have the struggles been in part because the personnel's not there for a pro-style offense, or is it deeper than that?
I think that's part of it. I don't think there's any doubt about that. When you have a transition, a pretty radical one in philosophy, in all honesty. Russ, as you mentioned, he's a read option kind of guy. Mm-hmm. And Chattanooga had the people that could execute that, namely, Russ's son, Jacob, and Alejandro is pretty good at that as well. Then you have a guy that comes from the NFL. Tom Arthas, the new head football coach in Chattanooga, best known, and we kid him all the time, he was Peyton Manning's backup with the Indianapolis Colts, meaning he didn't get on the field a whole bunch. But anyway, Tom has that pro-style approach and just a very, very different outlook. And I think transition does indeed have something to do with it. They have a brand-new staff. They were going to keep a couple of coaches from Russ's staff here, but they found jobs elsewhere. So I think that's part of it, just the transition among players and the players that were in this system as opposed to what they're being asked to do now is very different. Alejandro Benefield being out, has made it very, very different. And I think the coaching staff, not to berate them, I just think anytime when you have a brand new, 100% new coaching staff coaching these guys, that we're used to another system, I think that has to make a difference. And it's folks that aren't familiar with the league or the South, Tom came from John Carroll University, which is a Division III school in the Cleveland area where Tom went to school. And so, I think there's some growing pains. I'll put it that way. I think in a lot of ways that at least is part of it.
Visiting with Jim Reynolds. He is the play-by-play voice of the Chattanooga Mocs. A 4 o'clock start down in Chattanooga tomorrow for these teams. Chattanooga has won 5 straight in this series, and the Paladins, of course, coming off their first 2 wins of the season, hope to keep the momentum rolling. What's been the coaching staff's take on what they've seen in preparation for Furman's offense this year? I've been getting some pretty interesting comments from people with the other schools as we've done these interviews over the course of the week because of the just the unpredictability of what Clay Hendricks and his staff are doing.
Well, I mean, it was nothing but complimentary. He said he's pretty impressed. Maybe that's the case at Furman where the transition's been great because both the passing game and running game has been, really, really good. And again, a little bit unpredictable. What do you stop first? You can run, Furman can pass, Furman can run. And he just said, with the quarterback doing well, he said that it's kind of a hybrid offense, but both parts of the hybrid are pretty good. So he said, and again, he has that pro style. Like I said, he carried the clipboard a lot when he was the backup to Peyton Manning and prepared with Peyton Manning, all those kind of things. So I think he's pretty impressed with the offense from everything he told me and said it's just because of the flexibility, he just thinks it's going to be awfully tough to stop.
Yeah, you got a senior in Dale Warren who leads the SoCon in tackles for loss last year. How well has he played, and can you talk about some other guys on defense that the Paladins might be seeing a lot on Saturday?
Well, that's strike 2 because the best player on Chattanooga's defense was Dale Warren. He's suspended for the first 6 games of the season. So I will guarantee you he will not play tomorrow. But Dale Warren really is a talented player. So I think, when you talk about things that can go wrong, will go wrong, whatever it is, I think Alejandro Benefield, I don't know if he was the best player on offense, but he probably was the most important player on offense. Kind of at the beginning of the year, I always kind of look around, who can, whatever team, fill in the blank, who can they not afford to lose? I mean, Dale Warren is came in with the most recognition, but they have some other linebackers, not as good as him, but the drop-off isn't as great. I don't think that's the case on the offensive side of the football. So Dale Warren, he's on the sideline all the time, and I know he's got a 6-game suspension, and this will not be, I don't believe this is going to be game number 6, one of those situations. So he's got one more game to go. He's a pretty talented guy. But I think that the suspension deal is half, i.e. half the season, 6 games.
Yeah, and the other losses you guys suffered came via graduation along your defensive front. I mean, those guys last year were just ridiculous. And along with that, now, if I'm not mistaken, you've gone from a 4-3 to a 3-4 look, so there's more transition there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the 2 defensive ends they had, Keontae Davis bounced around some NFL camps as well, and Ventrell McMillan, those are 2 dynamic defensive ends. If you tried to double team one, they'd get you from the other side. And they've gotten some pressure. I don't want anyone to think that Chattanooga defense has played poorly because they've got some talent on that side of the football. The problem is Chattanooga just hasn't been able to flip the field or put someone in bad positions. So many times other teams are taking over, not at the 15 or 20, but at the 35 or 40. I mean, those are the types of things. So there's just been too many short fields, and that's the reason why Chattanooga's not doing well, holding people down defensively. But their defense is still pretty good. I wouldn't argue that at all.
Jim, as we reached the halfway point of the season, what's been your take league-wide on what you've seen so far?
I think going in, I didn't think there was a super team, just to be honest with you. I mean, I thought there was a bunch of 4 or 5 and see who was kind of going to evolve. And obviously, Wofford's on top right now, but as you guys know more than we do, they've had some escapability of their own. So they're on top. I just think there's a group. I don't know if anyone will go through unscathed. I'll be surprised. And again, so that means I'm kind of saying that I think they'll be co-champions. I'm not sure there's just one team that you look at and say, wow, They're going to roll through the league and be unbeaten, and they're the team to beat. I know Citadel had a great year last year, and I think they're a really good team. I just think they lost a whole bunch from last year. I think Wofford is good. They seem to win those type of close games. I think just because they've kind of been in situations like that before, I think they're good. I think Furman's awfully good. I think Sanford's good. I think Western Carolina's involved is good. I think, from that group, that's where the co-champions, and I think they'll be co-champions, I think that's where the co-champions will come from. I think Chattanooga might have put themselves behind the 8 ball a little bit. And again, they've only lost one game. And Furman, the same thing. But, boy, you lose your wiggle room. Your march to there, you lose another game, and I think you're out of the running. So, again, just to have a loss so early in the year, I think it obviously puts you behind the 8 ball, puts you, you're going to have to jump past a lot of teams to get where you want to go. But I think there's a lot of stars in this league. I think there's a lot of things doing a lot of things well. And I think the Southern Conference is really unique in a lot of ways because you see that spectrum from run, like, Wofford and Citadel do traditionally, to people that can throw. Western Carolina's pretty impressive in the throwing, and obviously Sanford is as well. And then you have some teams kind of in the middle that do a lot of things well or rely on defense. I think the spectrum of watching football and the chess match, to me, is pretty fun to watch every week.
Yeah, if you're a defensive coordinator in this league, you're going to get a chance to defend just about every style of football that there is to be played there. Is this a 4-bid league to the playoffs in 2017 like it was in 2016?
You know what? I think the quality might be just as good. But I think because teams are going to knock off each other, the records are not going to be as glittering as maybe they were a little bit ago. That's just me. Because, I don't know who's going to be in the top 25, and while that is not necessarily who gets in the playoffs, understand that, but at least it is a, yard marker of where teams are. And I just don't know if this league is going to have, 3 or 4 or maybe 5 teams in the top 25 all season long. So I think it's going to be one of those cases that too many people knock off each other, and I don't think there's going to be a glittering record. So I would say 3 teams is a maybe. I don't see 4, although if they're whatever that 4th team is that's left out, I think they would do well in the postseason.
Yeah, I think Sanford got in last year as a 3-loss team, if I'm not mistaken, which was a little surprising, to be honest with you.
I agree with that. And maybe that could happen this year if kind of things fall right. I think then you're saying that, someone that's running the hard times in the Missouri Valley or the Colonial or something like that.
Your running back at Darrell Bridges, he had 88 yards at LSU on 15 carries, but ever since then it's kind of been a struggle to run the ball. Can you talk about what's been the problem with y'all up front running the football?
Again, they just haven't gotten positive yards, a lot of positive yards on first down. So Darrell Bridges is a transfer from Presbyterian, and he's a local guy. So he's a graduate transfer. And then you have Ricardre Bagley, who I think his final choices for school were Furman and Chattanooga. Ricardre Bagley is not a big bruising runner like Chattanooga had last year in Derek Crane or the year before in Jacob Huseman and Derek Crane. And those guys have had a tougher time kind of creating their own holes like Derek Crane was able to do. He'd run over some guys. I'm not sure Chattanooga running-wise has the ability to just run over people when there's not that kind of gaping hole between the tackles. So that one takes away between the tackles, and you're forced to go outside. When you know this, you become predictable, and the defenses start to chomping at the bit a little bit.
Yeah, it makes it very easy as a defensive coordinator. Yeah. It certainly does if you can make somebody one-dimensional. Hey, Jim, we appreciate the time. Always enjoy it. Look forward to seeing you down there tomorrow. And as mentioned, I'll need to steal about 5 minutes of your time for our pregame show, but always enjoy coming to see you, my friend.
It's always good in Chattanooga. Look forward to the game tomorrow, and we'll, as we always do, we'll have the red carpet laid out for you guys.
Please do that, and try to keep security on hand as well, would you? Well,
they better focus on me these days.
I hear you. Talk to you later, buddy.
All right, take care.
All right, that is Jim Reynolds, the very fine play-by-play voice of the Chattanooga Mocs. To break, we'll come back. finish up what we were starting with the scores from last night's college football, and Forrest has some possible, he said, upsets coming up.
We shall see.
We'll find out. This is the Dan Scott Show. We'll return in just a moment.
Looking for a good lunch spot in the Travelers Rest area? The Cafe at Williams Hardware is your place. Williams Hardware has food for the whole family, from the famous Reuben to the barbecue chicken quesadilla and their daily lunch specials, which includes the award-winning BLT on pimento cheese with pepper jelly, served Tuesday to Thursday. Williams Hardware also serves breakfast on Saturdays from 8 to 11, perfect before Furman home game. And don't forget the gift shop, which offers items for anyone on your list. Go see your friends at the Cafe at Williams Hardware, 13 South Main Street in downtown TR. Full menu and operating hours at the Cafe at WilliamsHardware.com.
Say you've got a busted phone or tablet screen. Time to get a new device? Nope. Time to give it CPR. CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale can repair almost any phone or tablet screen on the market and usually can do it same day. In fact, if you have an iPhone, the fix usually takes less than an hour. CPO Cell Phone Repair also can fix computers and gaming systems, both screens and hard drives. And they sell refurbished devices and new accessories. Stop by and see the new owner, Janet Culver, today, and check them out on Facebook. That's CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale, 864-282-9097. Give it CPR today. The Atlanta Bread Company wants to make your dining experience as convenient as possible, especially if you're ordering takeout. Go online to atlantabreadcompany.com, place your order there, and pay for it too. Then, when you get to the restaurant at Cherrydale Point, you breeze right by the cash registers and go straight to the pickup counter where your food will be waiting. And speaking of food, try the new Shrimp Po' Boy, a delicious and surprisingly healthy addition to the already great menu. That's the Atlanta Bread Company, Cherrydale Point in Greenville. .10:41 and down the stretch we come. Final segment of the show, final segment of the week. And our thanks again to Jim Reynolds for joining us to help us preview Furman and Chattanooga. Paladins have lost 5 straight in this series. And you recall last year, week 3 of the season, we were 0-2, and I believe that was the game that P.J. Blazejowski got hurt and Reese Hannon came in, and we were a one-dimensional team down 21-0, and all of a sudden we score 14 points in the fourth quarter, and if I remember correctly, are onside kicking to try to get the ball back and maybe get a tying touchdown. The previous 3 games in the series, however, Chattanooga had their way with us.
Blowouts.
Yeah. So we owe them a little bit, and
sure
it would be a big feather in the cap of the coaching staff here and this team, even the way Chattanooga has struggled, to go on the road and win in conference play. And so we'll hope that happens tomorrow. All right, so we were talking about the scores from last night, and Louisville goes into North Carolina State, gets beat 39-25. Lamar Jackson played well. He just does not have the weapons around him that he had a year ago, and their defense is not as good as it was a year ago. And NC State, right now, man, they are in a good rhythm.
They look really good, Dan. They'll probably have a chance to go up against Clemson and see what they can do against those daunting Tigers.
That November 4th game, they've kind of had circled up there since July, and they have now beaten Louisville and Florida State on that Atlantic side. So that sets them up in a pretty good spot. I mean, if they were to beat Clemson, obviously they would be headed into the ACC championship game. But last night, 17-10 at the half, and then NC State just has too much in the second half and wins at 39-25. A couple of other scores. Remember when Georgia Southern played on Saturdays and was a good team? How about a 43-25 loss to Arkansas State at home last night? Arkansas State's 2-2. Georgia Southern is 0-4. Appalachian State has thrived since joining the Sun Belt. I think Coastal Carolina is going to do okay in the Sun Belt. Elon left. They struggled in the CAA, but new coaching staff, and they're having some success this year. Georgia Southern leaving, and it's just been a constant downhill slide for them.
It really has, and they had nobody in the stands in that game last night. It was just sad to see, Dan. Just so sad to see.
Well, I guess it depends on your perspective, because I think there are a lot of people in the Southern Conference who weren't sad to see it.
Well,
to be honest with you,
there was a hint of sarcasm there.
Yeah.
If you,
Anyway, so those were the scores from last night. We went over 3 games yesterday, the 3 big games. And you want to review?
Yeah,
want
let's
to
do
review
that.
those for our listeners and viewers?
So the 3 games we had eyed to watch was Louisville and NC State, and obviously NC State won last night.
I picked Louisville, so I missed that one.
Miami against FSU.
Who did you pick in that one?
I picked NC State.
Okay.
Miami against FSU. I got Miami.
I got Miami.
And then 23 West Virginia versus TCU, and I picked TCU to win that ball game.
You're making me go with my heart instead of my head. I took West Virginia.
Yeah, that's what I do, Dan. But
desperate times call for desperate measures.
Absolutely, I understand that one. Some possible upsets.
Possible upsets.
Yeah, so, for tomorrow's games, Michigan State travels to number 7 Michigan. So this is a rivalry game, so anything can happen here. It's the first night game in 110 years in the rivalry, so pretty unprecedented stuff for tomorrow. And Michigan QB Wilton Spate is out with the injury, so John O'Corn will start. Michigan has a pretty good defense, but I think the dual-threat quarterback of Michigan State, Brian Lewerke, will be a task to defend. But Michigan State also has a lot of young kids and first-time players in this rivalry, so I think you have a few different things at play here, Dan. And as you can see, I haven't even picked anybody yet in this game. I've left this undecided, so I'm going to make a pick on the fly right now.
Okay.
And so I think I'm going to go with the Wolverines. I want to go Sparty, but I just think there's going to be too many things. We're going to get some Spartans on Saturday, and I'm going to pick Michigan and the fighting Jim Harbaugh's.
Now, Michigan State is off to a much better start than it was this time last year, when they barely beat Furman to start the season, and ended up having just a terrible year after the previous year having one of the best seasons in school history. They're 3-1. They have beaten Bowling Green, Western Michigan. Last week beat Iowa 17-10. That was coming off of a 38-18 loss at Notre Dame, and losing that badly to Notre Dame has me a little concerned. There are, it would be in the past some circumstances where I would take Michigan State simply because I think it's getting more and more fun to watch things happen to Jim Harbaugh.
Sure, I understand that 100%.
And first night game in this series, as you said, in 110 years, and they've set this thing up at the big house in Michigan, and even without their starting quarterback, you got to feel like everything's going to go their way, or they feel like everything's going to go their way. The Riverboat Gambler in me wants to take Michigan State in this one. I just don't think they've got enough in the tank right now. I've been put this way: I'm going to pick Michigan, but I hope I'm wrong.
I'm okay with that, Dan. I'm right there in the same boat with you there.
I'm going to pick Michigan, but I hope I'm wrong.
All right, next one. Number 4, Penn State travels to Northwestern. Obviously, Northwestern, they almost beat to 10th ranked Wisconsin Badgers. Was it last week or the week before? I cannot recall. But 2 ways Northwestern can win this game. If the Nittany Lions can't protect Trace McSorley, they will have struggles to run with Saquon Barkley, which they've had the past few weeks against teams that they should easily protect and not have troubles running the football or protecting Trace McSorley in the pocket. And second is if seniors, Clayton Thorson, the QB, and Justin Jackson, the running back, have big games for Northwestern. I think this is going to be a really tough task for Northwestern, but I think they've got a shot, especially being at home. I'm going to pick Penn State here, Dan. I think this is a game to keep a close eye on because of what Iowa did to Penn State and because of what Northwestern almost did to Wisconsin earlier in the year.
By what Iowa did to Penn State, what do you mean?
Almost beat them.
Almost.
Yeah.
You're real big on the almost, aren't you?
I guess. I don't know. Has that been a theme?
Yeah, I've heard that 3 or 4 times today.
Okay.
Already.
I haven't heard that, but we'll go with it.
Yeah, I got to go with Penn State on the road. I can see where it's maybe a bit of a trap game for them, but I just think they're too talented.
Sure.
So I'll take Penn State. Don't like Penn State. I'd rather see Northwestern win.
No, I'm right there with you on that one. Game number 3, Stanford versus number 20, Utah. The Cardinals need to win this big, and I think Bryce Love will have a huge game against a really good Utah defense. They're the best in the Pac-12 against the rush, but Utah QB Tyler Huntley, he's hurt, which will make the Utah Utes one-dimensional. I like Stanford to get the win down in Utah this weekend.
You know what? I think I probably agree with you. I think that this is this is a game that Stanford needs. They need to kind of, after some struggles, they're 3-2, and that's probably caught some people by surprise that they've lost 2 games at this juncture of the season. I think this is one where they can make a little bit of a statement that say we've got the ship righted a little.
Sure.
And so I'm going to take Stanford to win in Salt Lake City.
Fair enough. Well, those are your upsets to look for. Thing number 3, Rick Pitino has allegedly, in the past 5 years, received 98% of the money from Adidas in a deal. It's sitting at about $1.5 million a year through July 1st. This was first reported by the Louisville Courier-Journal. So, Dan, I understand this happens a good bit in college basketball and college football with the apparel companies paying not only the school but the coach. But here it seems to me that this was more of a deal with the coach than the school. And so just the notion that this was made out to be a deal with the school, I think, was false. And so I think this is the only thing I have a problem with in finding this information out about Rick Pitino and the Adidas deal. I think it's okay for coaches to make deals with the shoe companies or the apparel companies. That's fine. No problem with that. But I think the problem I have is how this was portrayed to the public.
Yeah, the other side of it is that once the deal is signed, Tom Jurich, the athletic director, when it was signed, can decide what he wants to do with it. Maybe that was a way that they were able to, I don't know what the terms of his contract were, but pay more of his contract without it actually affecting the school's budget.
Sure.
I mean, there are a lot of factors that could be involved there. It is a little misleading to say that it's a deal with the school and then find out that one coach gets 98% of the money. But at the same time, I'm sure it's not the first time that it's ever happened.
Oh, I don't think so. It won't be the last either.
Yeah, and then this is the old contract. This is not the new one that Jurich just signed with Adidas for $160 million over what, 20 years?
Yep, 20 years.
I think. I'll be very surprised if that contract actually stands up now with everything that's
10
going
years,
on.
10 year, $160 million.
Yeah, $16 million a year.
Yeah, not too bad. It's
not
good,
bad at all.
That's good math there, Dan.
I can get it. You start using those round numbers, round figures. I can generally come close. All right, we have. I'm sure we have some on this dates.
We sure do.
We have trivia to get to.
All right.
What else?
On this date, in 1911, Cy Young makes his final appearance, his 906th appearance, in a 13-3 drubbing. 1923, it was the first National League unassisted triple play. Ernie Padgett. It was a line drive shot right at him, tagged the base, and then went down and chased the runner and tagged him himself for an unassisted triple play. So just shout out to the great Ernie Padgett for that. In 1926, Babe Ruth hits 3 home runs in a World Series game. So Altuve giving the old nod to the great Bambino yesterday. And all you Cubs fans will like this one. In 1945, the infamous Billy Goat is brought to Game 4 of the World Series, and that is the last time the Cubs won a pennant in the 20th century, and subsequently have numerous scandals, failures. Yeah, whatever you want to call it. Essentially, just there's numerous things you can say. 1966, Jim Palmer, at the age of 20, is the youngest pitcher to throw a shutout in the World Series. In 1985, Phil Niekro is the 18th pitcher to get his 300th win.
Did that as a Yankee, I believe.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Didn't want to throw that out there, Dan, because he wasn't really Yankee for this entire duration. So.
No, he got almost all of those wins with the Braves, but he did get number 300.
No, fair enough.
In a Yankee, it's like Tom Seaver got his 300th in a White Sox uniform.
He's a Met through and through.
In 1985,
yep.
He was a Met, and then he was a Red from '77 through the end of the '82 season.
Oh wow!
I believe. So he got his only no-hitter as a member of the Red staff, as a matter of fact, 1978.
Well, not against that one.
Yep, there you go.
2001, Todd Helton is the first player in back-to-back seasons to have 400-plus total bases. So impressive for the Colorado Rocky. And in 2010, Roy Halladay throws his second no-hitter in postseason history.
Against the Reds. Opening game of the division series that year.
Yep. Doc, as they used to call him.
Doc Halladay.
Yeah.
All right, what about the trivia question?
Trivia question. The topic is Furman football. The question. Furman is 27-19 against Chattanooga in the series. What is the Paladins' longest winning streak during the series?
We just discussed the fact that Chattanooga has won 5 in a row.
Yeah, that's correct.
But we're looking for Furman's longest winning streak in the series. I'll say 7.
15.
Wow.
1995 to 2009. He scored 40 points 8 times.
15.
At least 40 points.
15 in a row. That was a dominant stretch.
It sure was.
To be sure.
My goodness.
And with that, we are done.
That's all I got.
We're going to wrap it up and let you folks get on about your business. We are so grateful for you continuing to support us and tune in on a daily basis. Just ask you to tell your friends about it. Share the link when we go live every day. Help us grow the audience, and let's continue to move this thing forward. We will be on the air tomorrow from Finley Stadium for Furman and Chattanooga. It'll be a 4 o'clock start, a 2:45 Southern Fried Cotton tailgate show. You'll be able to hear it, of course, on our flagship station, Fox Sports 1440. It'll also be carried here on the Campus FM 95.9. It's available at FurmanPaladins.com and on the TuneIn Radio app at the Furman Network and the WPLS-LP. So there's really no excuse for you not catching the game. And it will be an ESPN3 broadcast. So as always, watch the video. But technology allows turn their sound down, sync ours up with it. And for the third straight week, we'll have Booth Cam on my Facebook page, streaming live from the booth. So get Forrest on camera yet again.
Do some strange things like I always do.
Yeah, you and David Cobb both. Anyway, and then we'll be back with you here on Monday to wrap up the entire weekend, and looking forward to doing so. Good stuff.
Yes, sir.
All right, until Monday, for Forrest, I'm Dan, saying God bless you and so long, everybody.
Dream big for what we can do here. Let's not be small thinkers. Let's take what we have